You see here, standing in front of us, and the TISO MVP of the tournament is none other than Miss Caitlin Clark. It's undeniable the impact she's made on women's basketball, and here in Puerto Rico had quite the showing. Her debut.
What transpired in Puerto Rico will never be forgotten in history books. Everyone witnessed the transformation of the basketball world under the veterans' leadership. A silent leader returned to the court and demanded a radical reorganization of the hierarchy. Even while the hardware is real, the drama behind the scenes is far more theatrical than the scoreboard. Since the international stage showed that the offense flows better when it passes via a generational playmaker, should the old guard finally step aside and let the youth take over? Take complete command?
Take a look at that.
One more day, one more basketball game establishment to sit in the corner and consider what it has done. You might have noticed something that has some coaches reaching for the extra strength aspirin if you were watching the recent happenings in San Juan, Puerto Rico. We're talking about a drastic shift in American basketball culture. To put it mildly, not everyone is taking it very seriously.
Completely different off the court than I am on the court. Like when I step in between the lines, like I'm there to kind of...
No one expected it to end this way, as you can see. When Caitlin Clark walked into that stadium, she carried more baggage than a transatlantic voyage. She had just ended one of the worst injury runs we've ever seen. Groin strains, bone bruises, ankle issues, you name it. Her body was trying to give up on her during that awful season in 2025. She hadn't played a competitive game in 239 days. 239 days. If you're a great athlete, that's basically a lifetime of sitting on the couch and watching your timing and rhythm erode. The critics were ready. They were waiting for her to hesitate or defend herself while they sharpened their tiny swords. Even her most ardent fans were beginning to perspire. But while everyone else was playing, Caitlin spent 8 months building a furnace inside herself during her recuperation, something that the basketball community failed to see. She didn't fly to Puerto Rico in order to ease back in. She was in that building to serve as a reminder to everyone. Teammates, instructors, and above all, the skeptics. Who exactly is in charge while she's vertical?
Clark is officially the MVP of the FIBA Women's World Cup qualifier tournament that was just held in Puerto Rico. Team USA went undefeated. And it's kind of crazy because Caitlin Clark actually only started one game in this entire tournament, but clearly she had the greatest impact. The coach at times was also playing her in like the 3-4 position, which is so wild. She's a true point guard, and literally everyone does better when she is running the point. And she led the team in assists per game with 6.4 per game. And she also led the team in efficiency at a 14.6, which is something that FIBA uses, the WNBA and NBA don't. But essentially, it's a math equation that figures out your efficiency on the court, and she led Team USA. She also led the team in overall points at 58 points, but Clea Copper actually led in points per game at like 12.5 points per game. And Caitlin played around 20-ish minutes in each of these games. And remember, guys, this is Caitlin Clark's senior debut for Team USA because she was not invited to the 2024 Olympics. And actually, in her first ever game for Team USA, she had a double-double with 12 points and 12 assists. But beyond just the numbers, Caitlin Clark changes the entire game the minute that she steps on the court. You can see how other teams change their defense just to make sure that they are guarding her. Like so many teams were switching to a box and one whenever she stepped on the court. Just the gravity that she has when she's on the court, the quickness of the game, the speed gets so much faster when Caitlin Clark is in the game. And honestly, it's a super exciting brand of basketball. I loved watching her play in these Team USA games, even if it wasn't that many minutes. I also loved seeing her and Paige and Angel cook together. But that's it for this Team USA World Qualifier thing that they were doing. They did qualify for the World Cup, and we'll just have to tune in September. Congrats, Caitlin, on the MVP.
Let's talk about the sideline scenario because this is where the sarcasm really shines. Kara Lawson enters. When she took over Team USA in September 2025, it was her big debut. Nothing is given. Everything is earned energy. An old coaching cliche usually translates to, I'm going to make the most popular player on earth sit on the bench for a spell to show everyone I'm the boss. And that's exactly what happened in the first game against Senegal. Lawson's starting lineup was dominated by veterans, including Jackie Young, Kalia Copper, and Chelsea Gray. It was a very clear message. Caitlin, please have a seat.
Debut with the senior team. The double-double with both points and assists. And in her senior debut, she wins the TISO.
However, reality eventually set in. Lawson replaced the starters with the second unit halfway through the first quarter. Caitlin delivers a no-look pass to Monique Billings for a layup, an assist, and a jumper on her first possession, literally the first time she's touched a ball while donning a senior national team jersey. Suddenly, the rust that had everyone worried seemed more like pure, unadulterated polished gold. In just 19 minutes, Caitlin ended the 110-46 thumping with 17 points and 12 assists. In the history of the competition, that is the second highest total of assists. By the way, Lawson was forced to attend the press conference and openly acknowledged that Caitlin's second unit drove the squad in an entirely different direction. Level. The wailing within the veteran camp was practically audible. It turns out that when a player has the ability to see into the future, the system becomes somewhat meaningless, and the hits simply keep coming. The same thing happened in Games 2 and 3. Effective, silent, and completely deadly with the ball. Lawson ultimately did what common sense had been urging her to do by the fourth game against New Zealand. Caitlin was initiated by her. And what took place? Caitlin scored 14 points and dished out 6 assists in a 101-46 rout, seemingly bored. She was far ahead of everyone on the team in assists. She was competing against Olympic gold medalists who had been running offenses since before she could drive. When she has the keys, the offense simply moves in a different way. Naturally, though, pleasant things cannot exist without some turmoil. Let's discuss the widely shared pictures of Caitlin appearing tense in close proximity to Stephanie White. There was a complete meltdown on the internet. People were speculating that there was a serious problem and that Subbard should fly in like a basketball UN negotiator to see how things were going. People's fear of any friction is almost comical. However, things will be a touch tight when you're trying to fit into a room full of enormous egos after an 8-month sabbatical. However, Caitlin did address it. She was forthright about how it is not like living with the Indiana fever. She is the sun around which everything revolves at home. She is surrounded by stars on Team USA, all of whom believe they ought to be the sun. Her readiness to change, pick up the pace, and simply trust the talent around her demonstrates a level of maturity that, at this point, probably makes the diva narrative look pretty foolish. She was no longer being treated like a luxury acquisition by the coaching staff. She was being treated as if she were the foundation. Then came Spain, the last boss, a foreign team that was bigger, meaner, and more seasoned. Nate Tibbetts took over because Lawson had to return to Duke for NCAA preparation. In a match that truly became close in the fourth quarter, there were just 8 players in the rotation. Can you guess who was among them? After coming off the bench, Caitlin contributes 7 points and 7 assists to help the team win 84-70. The ideal 5-0 competition. It wasn't even a question when FIA declared the MVP. 24-year-old Caitlin Clark was voted the tournament's top player. In terms of assists, she led the qualifying competition. She made 40% of her deep shots. She gave the impression that everyone else on the court was playing in slow motion. In an attempt to disseminate the news quickly enough, the Indiana Fever social media crew most likely fractured their fingers. The aging guards are likely to be perspiring through their jerseys at this point. A significant generational shift is currently taking place. The veterans who flew the flag for 10 years are growing older. Before, the question was whether Caitlin will be a part of the future. The question now is whether she represents the entire future. The message is communicated when the International Basketball Governing Body calls you amazing and gives you an MVP medal on Instagram before the World Cup even begins. In September, Team USA will compete in the Berlin World Cup in an attempt to win their 12th championship. They are undoubtedly the favorites, but a player who only a few months ago was unsure if her offensive identity could ankle pain would never go away. The movie has been watched by the rest of the world. They have witnessed her actions when she is surrounded by gifted people. Imagine how she would appear after a complete summer of professional games if she had done this after 8 months of rehabilitation. For any other nation, it would be a nightmare. The fact that none of this was promised is what makes it so wonderful. In a single season, the body let her down 4 times. The fans were in a panic. Her obituary as an elite force was being written by the skeptics. Nevertheless, she entered San Juan and responded to every query in 5 games. The tension in the groin is gone. The bruising on the bone is unimportant. There was no hesitancy. She performed like a woman who most likely had been practicing while she slept. USA basketball has always prevailed thanks to its system and depth. They never required a superhero to save them. But that week, something changed. When the prize was given out, every coach, teammate, and even FIA itself pointed at the same individual. The ball was in her hands when the margin was narrow and the pressure was high. And I don't know what screams captain to the rest of the world if it doesn't. Caitlin Clark ended the competition by establishing the entire agenda for the following 10 years, despite Kara Lawson's initial attempts to create a tone. Recall the games in which it appeared as though veterans were attempting to run the offense into a brick wall. Although Chelsea Gray is excellent, the game's tempo has changed. Sets or no longer the only aspect of the game. It has to do with gravity. Caitlin is the most significant player on the court even when she isn't shooting because of her great gravity. Envy was evident in the early handling of some of the rotations. It's difficult to be the program's face for 5 years and then see someone win the MVP award after taking an 8-month sabbatical. In actuality, Caitlin Clark possesses a psychological advantage that most players are unable to touch. The elite and media have repeatedly encouraged her, yet she continues to prevail. The old guard's unwritten norms did not fool the international referees. They blew the whistle when they witnessed a player being fouled. When they observed a player performing really well, they awarded her. The domestic league has long battled with this degree of neutrality. We now turn to face Berlin. There will be a stacked roster. However, for the first time, it seems as though the hierarchy has been dented. The genie cannot be put back in the bottle. Returning to the traditional plotting veteran style feels like a huge step backward after witnessing the offense operate at that level of efficiency under Caitlin's leadership. The establishment is free to present it in any way they see fit. They can discuss experience and leadership. However, the supporters are aware of what they witnessed in Puerto Rico. The future was visible to them. And number 22 is worn by the future. She was unaffected by her 239-day absence. They only increased her threat. She has slept. She is in good health. She also has a brand new MVP trophy to serve as a reminder. Everyone that she is the court's unquestioned queen. The immediate jealousy is genuine. However, the reality is the same. A freight train cannot be stopped by whistling. Kara Lawson has a challenging task ahead of her as she attempts to maintain equilibrium in a locker room that is obviously split between the past and the future. However, if she is astute, she will see that simply moving aside and letting Caitlin do what she does best is the simplest route to win gold in Berlin. The legacy players will have to decide what to do. They have 2 options: either join the ride and earn their medals, or continue attempting to defend their territory and observe the game go past. They've already lost the game based on what transpired in San Juan. The hardware is already in the bag, the numbers are too large, and the brilliance is too clear. Caitlin Clark is at the top of an entirely new universe. For the first time, a 24-year-old who doesn't give a damn about your sentiments or tenure is paving the way for Team USA to win its 12th championship. The bucket is all that matters to her. She also demonstrated to everyone in Puerto Rico that she has never visited more adept in obtaining them. As September approaches, the cacophony will only increase. The new Team USA will be put to the test in every game. Millions of fans will examine each rotation. When the ball tips, it doesn't matter that every exchange between a player and a coach will be memed. Caitlin Clark has demonstrated that she is capable of managing the commotion, injuries, and jealousy. She only needs to deal with the rest of the world now. The takeover is no longer merely a rumor. It is an established fact supported by FIA and validated in court. The captain everyone who saw the event understands exactly who is guiding that squad through the storm, even though the label isn't officially on the jersey yet. The old guard may be jealous, but they had better adjust to the passenger seat view. The new era of basketball has officially begun with the dismantling of the hierarchy. Make sure to hit the like button if you liked this analysis of how the global stage altered everything for the game's future. It truly aids in the channel's expansion. Remember to subscribe for more in-depth analyses of the stories that the mainstream media overlooks. I'll see you at the next one.